I mean, BlackRock just announced what's going to happen. And guys, I'm so excited about the next big move. Hi everyone, my name is Nick and I'm glad you're here. If this video is your first time on the channel, I hope you decide to join by the end. Also, make sure you follow me on all of the social media sites listed below so you don't miss any updates. You can also join the free Discord channel to completely rule this crypto cycle. So let's jump right in. Let's go back to April, when Ripple wrote a post about MiCA and the rules for digital assets in Europe. Also, guess what? At the end of the day, these regulatory rules should be the key that opens the door to institutional adoption. Why? Because do you know what? There is a lot of money in institutions. Do you want $10 trillion to move into this area? You need to look into institutions. But we need to get into this space. There needs to be a key that lets all the big money players finally join and go live. A lot of them are already planning and getting ready for rules, which means they already have use cases ready. They're ready already. We finally have the go-ahead. That's why a lot of people who are watching say things like just wait over and over again. As an example, when it comes to rules, they think, okay, well, this space still needs rules. Okay, and then they need to come up with these good use cases once we have rules. Not at all. That's where the big mistake happens. These institutions are already following the rules. They have already started to plan, build, end. These are real-life use cases, and all they need now is the green light. So it's pretty much game over once we get that. Let's now talk about adoption in institutions, okay? What if I told you about the event where you flip the switch? That's right. A lot of people said that story couldn't be true because it had been going around for a while. In the XRP group, it turned into a joke as well. What if I told you that it's been proven? We'll talk about that in a moment. On the other hand, this is Empire Newsletter. The next wave of smart money in crypto, 55% of them. That's the number of big investors who said they would put more money into crypto in just the next 2 to 3 years. We might remember 2023 as the year that digital assets really took hold in the tough world of traditional banking. Why is this so strange? XRP is one of the top 4 cryptocurrencies that these companies are putting money into. In addition, we can see that 62% of investors have put more than 1% of their assets into crypto so far. According to the study, that number will rise to 81% in 2 to 3 years. That's why organizations will keep coming in. And these were more than 270 big backers. Now that we're down here, I think the fund space is also very interesting to keep an eye on. There have been some successful starts with money market funds and treasuries, which is what we want to tokenize. A lot more tokenization is what we want to do. And this is where we could see what qualities are really being looked at. 1, being able to link to liquidity providers, use prime brokerage services, lend and borrow crypto, and support for stablecoins. By the way, this is coming to the XRP ledger. But a lot of these features are things that Ripple is trying to offer. The XRP ledger is also about to get a big change that will let people give and borrow money. In addition to this, however, Ethereum ETFs have made business crypto adoption take a big step forward. Don't forget what comes after the ETFs. We think about crypto, stablecoins, and tokenization when we talk about the digital asset space. We opened a tokenized fund at the beginning of the year. It's now the world's biggest tokenized fund. This comes from BlackRock. No, this is not the proof. This is not the news I would like to talk about. We have something much more interesting to talk about. That kind of pay attention. If we look at some of the most popular news stories from the last week or so, though, look at this. 7 countries are trying out tokenization. Goldman Sachs is going to start 3 projects this year that use tokens. BlackRock starts a digital asset fund on Ethereum that is backed by $100 million. The market landscape of tokenized government bonds created by blockchain. Take a look. This is up just in the past year. This is only going to get worse and worse. It will keep getting worse and worse. Everything will be different after the first trillion. The whole situation with tokenization and crypto changes at that point. But over here, we have Us.Thankx, BlackRock, and loud and clear. Tokenization of stocks will be the next big thing in markets. ETFs are just a way to get started. We have been a part of the huge change that ETFs have brought to investments. We think that ETFs will change the way we invest in general. Look at this. I really think this technology is going to be very useful. I know, look at it. We have been a part of the huge change that ETFs have brought to investments. We think that ETFs will change the way we invest in every way. For tracking, a lot of people still use it as a way to make money. Most of the people who put money into an ETF are busy investors who want to get exposure. Right now, the whole bond market is going through a change. Because I see it, tokenization of securities will be the next big thing in markets and stocks. If we can get that spread ledger, we'll know who the beneficial owner and beneficial seller are, and have a code that lets us know who is buying and selling right away. And think about it, it changes everything there is. On top of that, we have BlackRock's Us.Thankx. Tokenizing financial assets is what we think will be the next big thing. In other words, each stock and bond will have its own. Also, there will be one main record. Those of us who buy early will have our own number and ID. The most important thing is that tokenization lets us make tactics that work for everyone. Check it out. It's the start of the ETF Bitcoin. In the same way that Bitcoin was a way to store assets, we think that ETFs are a technology. Tokenizing financial assets is what we think will be the next big thing. In other words, each stock and bond will have its own QCIP. It will all be in one big book. You and I, as investors, will each have our own number, which will also be our ID. If we had tokenization, we wouldn't have to worry about crimes involving shares, stocks, and digital money. Through tokenization, we can make tactics that work for everyone. We would have agreements right away. Think about how much it costs to settle stocks and bonds. But if you had tokenization, everything would happen right away, since it's just a line item. So we think this is a big change in the way technology is used for financial assets. I think that if we want to talk about votes and choices for voting and everything else, we should always know who owns that stock. It's now time to vote. Each person who owns a share is named, and each can vote their own share. Is this the end of mutual funds? For many, I think it's just a cover. I wouldn't say it's the end, but I think ETFs will be the main way that goods are brought to market in the future. I bring these up again because if we're really talking about institutional acceptance and the rules that lead to it, guess what? So much money will start moving through chain in almost an instant. That's not me going off on a tangent. I'm not trying to sell you a used car or anything. They're already set up, so don't say anything. They're ready already. You may have heard that many institutions from 2015, 2016, and 2017 are now putting a lot of effort into tokenization use cases. Why do you think this is? These chances happen because they're already planned for. They've lived in this area for at least 10 years. They are ready, and more institutions are becoming interested in DeFi. A 100 million USDC fund on Ethereum is BlackRock's first step into tokenizing assets. This was big news, but establishment DeFi was what this was really about. Okay, DeFi in institutions is the important thing. BlackRock just now, on July 26th, says the big money hasn't come yet. It's not on yet. They are making the process go faster. This was proven at the Bitcoin meeting in Nashville not long ago. This is proof of what you just said. When we look at all of BlackRock's efforts to tokenize things, and even the ETFs, that's not even the big money. That's a very small piece. That's not even a small part of what we should expect to see in this space from these organizations. Look at this. It was, if not the biggest ETF start ever. As I said yesterday, it's also interesting to me how big the assets in Bitcoin ETFs are now compared to the whole space. If we compare an asset worth $1.5 trillion to about $60 billion, we see that there are only twice as many gold metal ETFs. Gold bars are worth about 15 trillion caps, which is 10 times as much. In the Bitcoin ecosystem, that effect is beginning to take on the shape of a whale. Have you seen Robbie? Is it just a passing fad? What do you think is going on at Blackman? James, I think it's interesting that these are still being rolled out pretty slowly, right? It's only been 6 months. Yes, there have been a lot of moves, but if you look at the types of clients we serve investors directly, wealth advisors and institutions, A-shares, Van Ecken, and Bitwise are all similar. And that first group came out of the gates pretty quickly, showing that there was a lot of demand. That group drove a lot of the flows. But in the other two parts, they are still very early in their trip. When we talk about institutions, there's a lot of study to be done. This is a real idea that is used in official documents to talk about the switch to a banking system based on blockchain, a change that the biggest businesses and governments are about to make. The switch is going to be turned on soon. Now comes the big switch. Big businesses are ready for blockchain, but can banks bring it? On top of that, yes, banks that are part of the financial system like JP Morgan, HSBC, and Franklin Templeton will switch to blockchain-based systems in 2024.